Hello. Welcome. Oh, that woke the dog up. Oops, my bad. Welcome to the live stream. This is all going to be very exciting because I've got new software. Facebook have changed their preferences and how protocols and how it all works, which is all very exciting. So it could be a comedy of errors, but it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be absolutely fine. So one thing I just need to do is just click this link here. And I will be with you in 2 milliseconds. Right, so welcome to the Hebrides. I am in the Hebrides right now. I was going to show you pictures of this beautiful sunny beach, but sadly today it's not been quite so sunny. Who knew? It rained in Scotland, and it is indeed raining here in Scotland. So I haven't got much of a view behind me. It's a fence. Because I decided to come to a proper campsite, which given what we're talking about is quite a good thing anyway. So I have come to a proper campsite to make sure I got decent internet. So that's always a good start. I thought, make sure that I had proper internet to come on the live call with you. So what I want to talk to you about today is finding campsites. Now, I'm just going to share my screen. I would love to know, I'd love to know where you are. Where are you watching this from? So wherever you are, pop it in, like what location you are in. And I'm going to try and click a little button. And I would love to know if you could see that. If you can see that, let me know. That would be really good. I'll just give it a second or two before I start talking about what's on the screen, just to make sure you can actually see it and you're not all going, what the heck? Let me just see. Oh, hang on. I now have to mute myself. There we go. So I've got a couple of hellos. Hello, Alison and Maureen and Karen and Beth and Simon and Adam and Kim and Jane and Claire and another Jane with a Y, and a David said yes. Thank you, David. Right. So the reason for doing this, a little bit impromptu, I'll be honest, is because a couple of days ago I posted this picture. And this picture, which is taken a moment, was taken actually in Scotland. It's a little like small campsite that I found, and everybody was like, wow, that's amazing. I didn't know there were campsites like that in Scotland. I say everyone. A lot of people, more people than I expected, have commented over how do I find these places? How do I find these campsites? And then when I got to the Hebrides and I was staying in places, there's a guy next door now moving all his bins. This could be horrific. Oh, Matt's come to say hello as well. But yeah, so then I started places, all these places like in the Hebrides. And everybody, all of these are official spots that you can stay in overnight. None of them are wild parking spots. A lot of them are off-grid, and there is a difference between wild and off-grid. But I'm not talking about wild parking or off-grid sort of camping, if you like, in this chat. I'll do another chat about that in a future video if you would like me to. But all of these are approved overnight spots, but they're not necessarily your official big campsite. So what I want to do is just take a little bit of time to go through how I find my campsites, and how I then choose what things I'm looking for, just to help share my thought process with you. Because every day at the moment, I'm getting people. I got one today, a couple were going to Andorra. Do I have recommendations on sites? Some people going down to Spain or Italy. And whilst I may have been to some of these places, I want to give you the tools to be able to find your own campsites, do your own research, and therefore the world is your lobster, as they say. So these are just a couple of amazing places. Like I say, I've had some incredible weather in the Hebrides the last few days. It has now sadly changed, but as you can see, these spots were absolutely amazing. The one here on the left was £5 a night right on the beach, and you just paid that to the West Harris Trust. The one I stopped from that, where was that one? I think that was the campsite I was in last night. So I actually stayed in a campsite last night as well. That was £20 for the night. And then the one below that in the bottom right was £20 a night again, right on this really, really pretty headland. The road down to it was really narrow, but nothing that a motorhome couldn't handle. It was absolutely fine. So let me dive into this, and I am going to split this, she says, when the internet works. into two different parts. I'm going to split it into the UK, and I'm going to split it into then how I find things in Europe. Now, just really quickly, for those of you I've not had the pleasure of meeting for, hi, I'm Kat. I run a website called Wandering Bird, where we share tips for motorhoming and van life around the UK and Europe. And my experience is in 2018, I quit my job. I used to be an air traffic controller, and I quit my job to go touring around the UK and Europe. I say long term because it hasn't always been full time. I've had periods of being full time. I was about full time for about 3 years. And right now I'm full time in my van and will be for the next few weeks. But then obviously I change, and I've got a little house as well now. That's something that was new over the winter, because I think 3 winters is enough in a van. So who knows what will happen in the future. But I've done an awful lot of touring around the UK and Europe, and I have learned a lot of tips. I've made a lot of mistakes, and this picking campsites and choosing where to go is something that I found quite difficult to figure out at first. So again, I'm hoping that by sharing some of my thought processes with you, it will help make it a lot easier for you to figure it out for yourself. So like I say, I'm going to split this into the UK, and then I'm going to split it into Europe. So in the UK, as a general overview, we have 3 different types of stopovers. Again, I'm not talking about wild parking in this particular video. That's a whole different topic. So if you're looking at approved stopovers, you have got your big campsites. Everybody, I'm sure, pretty much knows what a big campsite looks like. Then you've got your smaller campsites, and in the UK we tend to call them either CL or CS sites, and you've obviously got a few independent ones as well. CL and CS sites are generally affiliated with either the Camping and Caravanning Club, and they're the certified sites, or certified locations for the Caravan and Motorhome Club. And the thing I love about CL and CS sites is they're generally 5 pitches maximum. There we go, Catherine, 5 fingers. 5 pitches maximum, which means they are a lot smaller. And for people like myself who don't have kids, want a bit of a quieter environment, and also don't necessarily want to have to book up popular campsites months in advance, they work brilliantly for me. And I'll show you a hack on how you can find them, because some of them are a bit fiddly as well. And then obviously you've got approved stopovers. Now, like I say, in the place that I was in a couple of days ago, you just paid £5 on your phone. It was like, why don't we have this more around the UK? You could literally text a number, and it took £5, I'm guessing off your phone bill. You text a certain code to a number, and it paid £5 to stay there for the night. It was magic, absolutely magic. I was really, really impressed with that. So those are the sorts of sites that we've got in the UK. Now, here is how a couple of websites that I use to find them. There we go. So the first place where I look for them are the club sites. So if you are a member of a caravanning motorhoming club, so normally camping caravanning club or caravan and motorhome club, they've also got what's the other one called? Freedom Camping, I think. I don't know if they've got their own sites now, but those two generally have got their own campsites, and they have also got affiliated campsites around that. But they've both got websites, and they've also got apps and books that you can look on, and it will show you where the different sites are that you can then go in. So if you want to go, I don't know, Cornwall, and you want to see what campsites are around there, and you're a member of, say, the Caravan and Motorhome Club, you can look on the Caravan and Motorhome. In fact, let me do it. Let me see if I can do this, and I'll show you. Bear with me. Bear with me. Bear with me. Let me see if I can show you exactly how you use these sites. Can you see that? Right, I'm going to pause just for a second. If you can see that, please let me know. Because again, I've just realised it's transcribing me on the video. That's quite exciting. There we go. Thank you very much. Yes, brilliant. So this is just the Caravan and Motorhome Club site. And as you can see here, so I actually finding the map on the website quite difficult on this site. Quick tip for you on how you do it. If you're going on the main homepage, where it's got what would you like to book, scroll down there and it's got explore map. It took me forever to find that. I have to say, normally I use the app. I don't normally do it on a website. And then the other way that you can do it is go into UK holidays. Oh, this is running really slow. I'm sorry because I'm sharing my screen. Hover over find a UK campsite and it says search by map. So those are the two ways that I find the map. If you don't know an exact site, and sometimes they list the site by the name of the site, which means absolutely nothing to you unless it happens to be, I don't know, Winchester site, although Winchester is called Morn Hill. So if you didn't know that, you'd never find it. So anyway, what did we say? We said Cornwall. You could scroll down and you can see there, when I zoom in, you can see they've got club campsites there and they've got their affiliated sites in the red. And then obviously you can click on, you can find out more details, find the price, all the rest of it. And the camping and caravan club site works pretty much exactly the same. So the thing I like about the club site is that you pretty much know what you're going to get. I find camping and caravan club sites are probably more child friendly, which for me is a bit of a turn off. Not to say that caravan and motorhome club sites don't have child facilities or kids facilities or playground or all that kind of stuff, but they do tend to be, they tend to be slightly more expensive, but also they just tend to be a slightly older crowd tends to stay there, which means that if you're not into a lot of kids running around, I tend to find the caravan and motorhome club sites are a little bit less noisy. Should we put it that way? Let's put it that way. But again, if you are a member of both clubs, you can find it a lot easier. Now, like I said, you can also get access to the CL and the CS sites around the UK, and I find these using a couple of apps. My favourite app to find CL and CS sites is Search for Sites. This is just within the UK. Let me, oh God, this blinking app everywhere. She says. So I've just did this earlier. I pulled up the Lake District. So these are different campsites around the Lake District. One thing that drives me mad about search for sites is once you've clicked on something, it bounces forevermore until you click on something else. But nicely bouncing there in the green is a certified location, which is a CL site affiliated with the Caravan and Motorhoming Club. And you can see here all of the different facilities and everything that it has got. So search for sites and Parkfornight, they're not just designed for wild parking spots. You can actually use them to find campsites as well. And then the red ones are the Camping Caravan Club certified site locations there too. So if you want to stay on a site, but you don't know what's around them, I mean, look at all of these independent sites. I don't know the difference. Oh, that's a small and friendly one is the Little Flower. And then that's an independent campsite is the Tent. But look how many there that you wouldn't necessarily know were there. You'd only see the club sites if you just went on the club site website. So it's one of the reasons I really like using search for sites, in particular for the UK, because they have all these little ones listed. Whilst I'm on this search for sites thing, so you can see there, that's a caravan and motorhome club site. That's a camping and caravanning club site. You've also got here pubs in the little beer bit that allow overnight parking. I don't know if any of you have seen the post that's been doing the rounds on Facebook about some local council that contacted a pub saying that they were unhappy they were allowing motorhomes parking in their car park. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but for now these are basically they're like Britstops, but not every pub that allows overnight parking is a member of Britstops. And Britstops also got an app as well. It works very similar to this, but they won't have all the extra campsites and stuff on. So do tend to use search for sites for the UK. That bouncing's driving me absolutely mad. But anyway, so this is search for sites with an FOR in the middle. And that's a really good way of finding the CLs and the CSs and independent campsites around an area once you know where you're going to go there. Now, with the CLs in particular, there is a brilliant website called clbooking.co.uk. One of the big problems with the CLs and the CSs is because normally they're things like farms that have got a spare field that they have turned into a small campsite. Sometimes they've got electric hookups and they've got basic facilities, but it's basically you're parking in a farmer's field. They might have gravelled it and tarmacked it and it might all be lovely, but it's not going to have its own on-site wardens necessarily and all the rest of things, because generally you have to phone up. You can't always get through immediately when you want to know if they're available, especially if you want to do a last minute trip. And clbooking.co.uk was a genius idea from a load of CL sites that are saying, I've got availability on this night. So if you wanted to do, when's the Maybank holiday? Is it this weekend here? If you wanted to do a last minute getaway for the Maybank holiday in, let's do the Lake District, given that we were just there. Will it let me do that? No, you need a village. Kendall. Oh, come on. There we go. Ah! Give me another town. Windermere then. Will you work? No. All right. Maybe it's because I'm streaming. Well, anyway, you put your town in there when it works, put your dates in there, and then it will. I wonder if you just do that, well, if it'll show me the entire UK that have got availability. Don't know. Well, normally it works beautifully. It's not right now. Try it for yourself, see how it goes. But that's been a really good way of finding last minute, cheaper, smaller sites. If you don't, especially if you don't know exactly where you want to go, you just want to go away for the weekend and you want to see what options are available to you. I really like clbooking.com. Another campsite or another website that I use to find out availability around a specific area is pitchup.com. Now, one thing with Pitchup is that you won't find any of the club sites on there. You'll find the independent ones and the small and friendly ones sometimes, but I believe Pitchup will charge the campsite to make the booking through them. So you certainly won't find any of the caravan or motorhome club sites or anything like that on there. But the nice thing with Pitchup is if you don't necessarily know the names of all the campsites, but you want to see who's got availability, let's see if this works, the Windermere. There we go. Let's try and do bank holiday weekend. Let's apply that. We've got 2 adults. We want a motorhome pitch. And we want the nice thing as well. So I've got a dog. I always want a dogs allowed one. Let's just leave it like that and see what's got. So availability, free shout out to all of these parking here. So as you zoom out, you'll be able to see. Now this isn't per night price. That is the price for the entire trip. So which actually for 3 nights is really good, I would have said, in the Lake District. So you can literally zoom out and you can select this one, say Low Fellgate Farm. You can click on it. You can read the reviews. You can see pictures. Oh, actually, that's quite nice. And you can book. You can actually book through the Pitchup website. So if you want to know roughly an area and you want to see who's got availability, I like Pitchup an awful lot. Obviously, if you're not going to use one of the club sites. So back to our original thing. How do I stop sharing my screen? Like that? Like that? Here we go. Let me see if I can get that working. Bear with me. Oh, isn't it fun when you have a new... Oh, it started at the beginning again. Bear with me. Where were we? No, that's me. That's my name. Right, so we've been through all of those. So that's what I do in the UK. Now, at the end of this, I am going to give you these slides, by the way. So don't worry if you've missed a bit. And also the replay will be available. I think it stays on Facebook, but also I'll pop it up on YouTube as well. But I will give you a link to these slides underneath the post when it's done, so you can have a look at that. Now, I find Europe so much easier to have an impromptu trip in because they have these series of things called AIRs, which are basically approved stopover points for motorhomes and campervans. You've got to be self-contained, so have your own toilet and shower and everything on board. Caravan sadly can't use most AIRs, but for motorhomes and campervans, AIRs make life so much easier. But again, you've got your big campsites. You've also got in Europe, you certainly have a much wider range of bathroom facilities, let's put it that way. Anyone who has been to a classic French campsite will know exactly what I'm talking about. Airs, like I say, don't tend to have any facilities at all. Occasionally you might be able to empty your grey waste, but the nice thing as well in Europe is they have motorhome service points all over the place, and I'll show you how I find those shortly. But so you can actually pull up and empty your grey waste, empty your toilet. Obviously you need to pay a couple of euros, and then you can get fresh drinking water as well. So you don't need to be so reliant on campsites if you're going to be moving around. And then you've also got approved stopovers like Chateau. If you're going to do a wine tasting, they might let you stay in their car park and all those kind of stuff. So again, we're not talking about wild parking. We're talking about places that allow you to stay overnight. If you want to know where this campsite was, by the way, this was in Croatia. What's the name of it? It's on my website. It's on the Wandering Bird website. It was an ACSI site that we used, which we are getting to very shortly. So how do I find campsites across Europe along that whole range? So if you want a proper campsite and you know you want to be in a proper specific area. So say, for example, you want to go on the Atlantic west coast of France and you want to stay for a week. You want to take the kids, you just want to chill out. In fact, let's do it. I think I've got that open as well. Then I would use, there's two sites that I would use to find a proper campsite like that. I'd either use ACSI, unless you're going in the school holidays, in which case ACSI aren't going to help you. ACSI or ACSI is a discounted, it's the ACSI website is a nightmare. I've told them this a million times and they seem to think it works brilliantly. It is really hard work because they have so many different parts to ACSI. They've got great and small campsites, they've got big campsites, they've got the camping card, which is what you want if you want to do discount out of the main peak season. So ACSI camping card will give you discounted rates as long as you're not traveling in the main school holidays. The nice thing about it is that not all countries across Europe have the same school holidays as we do. Some of them do June and July. Some of them do August into September. So if you're going in either July or late in August, you might actually be able to use it. Or again, you can use things like the Caravan and Motorhome Club overseas site. So let me try this all over again and I'll show you how those work. There we go. I know I got those up earlier. Let me just check that you can see. Yes, right, cool. So what are we on here now? So the Caravan and Motorhome Club, I've got a whole section. I don't know if the Camping Caravanning Club do as well. I've never used them for overseas, but I have used the Caravan and Motorhome Club. So again, you click on overseas. If you hover your mouse over that, it'll come up with this, and then click on Europe, and then again you can find out the map. So all these green dots here are campsites that are either, well, they're affiliated with the Caravan and Motorhome Club. So like I said, if you wanted to go on the west coast of France, oh, I love Arcachon. So you want to stay there. Oh, actually, which was the one that I went to? I wonder if that was an affiliate. Too over ambitious. Down near Bayonne. It was really pretty. Anyway, this is how you find them. And then the nice thing, because they're Caravan and Motorhome Club affiliates, like, you know they're going to be a certain standard of facilities. They're going to have certain what's the word, like parking areas. You're going to have decent electric, all of the stuff. But again, so you can use your filters to do dogs allowed. And if you're traveling with a kid, let's say you want a swimming pool. And oh, there was one there. Yeah, let's put a restaurant on it. And let's call it motorhome friendly. There we go. So you've now filtered that down. We haven't even put any dates in, and you can see now the price on the Caravan and Motorhome Club is per night. Admittedly, I haven't put any dates in there, but then you can click on that, make sure that they've got the facilities that you want, and you can book it. And it's really, really straightforward. The ACSI site has something different, something similar, sorry. So this is what you want, the camping card on the ACSI. And again, you can search on the map. So if we're going to go to Aquitaine, I think there were already dates up in there, but let's just see what they've got. So if I can zoom in, 2 people, let's do, yeah, okay, let's do that was the May Bank holiday weekend. Bit last minute, but never mind. Page is loading. So you want motorhomes allowed, we want an outdoor pool, and we want dogs in low season on lead. Don't know. And then again, you can click on those, you can zoom in until you see the sites, and you can, oh, I'll scroll up a bit. There we go. You can see what that pool looks lush, doesn't it? And you can flick through, you can see some pictures. And again, you can either book through them or you can contact the website directly. So if you're just trying to find out what campsites are available, I would use either of those two. You can also use Pitchup for overseas sites. So if you go back into the campsites, and they've got things like Spain, the Netherlands, so you can use them as well. The thing to remember with Pitchup overseas is that, again, it's the campsites that are signed up to be on Pitchup. As far as I'm aware, they don't have any independent people checking the sites, whereas they do for the Caravan and Motorhome Club and for ACSI. So if you're worried about the facilities overseas, I would use one of the other two, not so much Pitchup for overseas. So those are how I would find out over proper campsites. Now, if you want to know where the airs are, Search for Sites does have the airs across Europe. But Search for Sites is a British website. Parkfornight is French, and most of the people who are in Europe creating the content are obviously European. There are much more Europeans using the site than there are Brits. So I tend to use Parkfornight for Europe, although as you can see, that one's actually done for where I am now. Parkfornight for Europe, and Search for Sites for over here in the UK, purely for that reason. One thing to remember with both Search for Sites and Parkfornight is it's user generated content, which means you tomorrow could go out, put a pin in a place, upload it to Parkfornight or Search for Sites and go, that's a brilliant place to stay overnight. And nobody checks it. Now, some of them are now getting checked up, or somebody has checked it or anything else. But this is why it becomes really, really important to read the reviews, look at photos, all of this kind of stuff, because there are some idiots who go out there and try and cause carnage by saying somebody's house is a brilliant park up, and then all these motorhomes turn up. So you do have to be quite careful when you're using Parkfornight or Search for Sites. But what Parkfornight has got is all of the airs. So, oh, hang on, I'm in Scotland. We don't want to be in Scotland. We want to be in Belgium. Let's do Belgium. So if you click on search on this area on Parkfornight, and it shows, I want to say 20 miles. Now, all of these are different parking spaces. You can see still campsites. You can see, so we want to see, we're not doing wild parking spots. So we can going to see paying motorhome area, free motorhome area, on the road spots, camping spots, and then apply the filters to that. So these red ones are generally, or green to be fair, are generally airs. Now airs normally have a small cost. I didn't click on that one, I clicked on the green one. Have a small cost to them, so that's why they become paid. But as you can see, this one is green. Oh, this one's green as a free one, but it says here payment by card. So again, you have to take it with a pinch of salt, because that is a free motorhome parking area with payment by card. So somebody has uploaded that and they've selected the wrong thing. It doesn't mean that the whole thing is wrong. It just means that they have put the wrong information in on that. So you can see there that there is an amount that you will need to pay on that one. So when you are looking now at air, so we've gone away from the big campsites, we're now looking at approved stopover points. When you're looking at them, these are the things that I tend to look at when I'm looking at an air. So let's open this one. And the first thing I look for is photos. If it doesn't have any photos, I'm not interested. For exactly the reason I said before, you don't know who uploaded it. You don't know how reliable their information is. You also don't know if it was brilliant 5 years ago and it has now all been changed. Now, you can see there from the length of the thing, I reckon that's you probably get 7.5 meter motorhome in that. I mean, that's quite a big one to be fair, maybe 7.5, 8 meter motorhome. So they're big, but if you like, our old van was 8 meters, then we were pulling a 2.5 meter car trailer or bike trailer on the back of it, you're not going to get in an air like that at all. So immediately, if you have a longer vehicle, that air is a no-no, you close it down. Next thing I would look for is the reviews. I mean, they say dogs are allowed on pretty much every air. So I'd look at the price for the services. It says their parking cost is free. So maybe it wasn't so much. Maybe it was payment for the services. Now, when you're using Parkfornight, like I said, the majority of users are European, speaking a whole range of languages. The nice thing about that is they have a translation in there. Now immediately 2 stars, only go here in emergency. Yeah, that immediately, the fact that that's sort of the first review and then the next one's about the same, and that, oh my goodness me, I wouldn't go to this air. There are enough people there saying that it's a bit dodgy, that would make me close it down again. Nice thing with Parkfornight is that it opens as a new window, so you can just close it down and go back to the back one. So we don't want to go to a campsite. Let's see what this red one here is. Oh, right on the canal, very pretty. So again, it's got pictures. It's good. You'd look at the length of the thing. Now, if you have a longer vehicle, there is an app called Camper Contact, which is really, really good. I'm not going to try and open that window because my computer's already running really slowly. But Camper Contact allows you to filter the results by length, which is fab. If you've got like a motorhome pulling a trailer or something, so you've got a whole train length that's a certain length, it really does help narrow it down. So places like this you wouldn't see. But again, so you've got decent photos. You can see how you pay. Jeton just means tickets. Oh, and also means you need coins and things on there. But yeah, jeton and tickets. It says quiet place on the edge of the river. You can see the parking cost, €5 for 24 hours. You can see what you need there for electricity and drinking water. And then I would start reading the reviews. Now you've got an English person there. One thing as well to look at with Parkfornight and to an extent search for sites is what type of vehicle they have got. So this guy's got what I would call a small motorhome or campervan. This guy's got a big motorhome. So if you've got a larger vehicle and you've got somebody with this sort of symbol next to them going, yeah, we squeezed in, but it was a really tight spot, you're not going to get in there. So it's really important to look at the reviews and actually make them sorry, my phone's flashing up with people. Make sure that you are reading reviews that are relevant to the size of vehicle that you have got. But that's got pretty decent reviews, and by the look of things, some of the bad reviews were talking about no problem with paying. When I'm actually looking at it in a bit more detail, I would go into all the reviews and also look at the dates, because if they're saying 2-3 years ago it was wonderful, but recent ones are really noisy, they've just opened a, I don't know, déchetterie or something nearby, then that was obviously, you've got to bear in mind that the really good reviews from a few years ago are going to make it look better than it is. So it's really important, if they don't have photos and don't have reviews, I never touch them, never touch these airs at all. Now what I can do, rather than going around trying to change my screen every 2 seconds, is I have those there. So if I come down to where we were, zoom in a bit, zoom in it. So there we go. So that's what I was talking about. Oh, I did actually mention Camper Contact in there already. So those are, first two is how I would find proper campsites. Parkfornight and Camper Contact is how I find airs. Pitchup I already mentioned as well, but I don't tend to use it so much for Europe. And then there are also schemes across Europe that are very similar to Britstops or the pub stopovers. So you've got France Passion in France, you've got Easy Camp in Portugal, and these are again businesses that are allowing motorhomers and campervanners to stay overnight in their car parks after they have used their services. So if you want to go to a wine tasting at a French chateau, many of them allow motorhomes to stay overnight in their car park as long as you're gone by 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning the next day, which means you can actually enjoy your wine tasting rather than having to drive afterwards. So it's a really good idea. If you are into trying local foods or local drink, all of this kind of stuff, then France Passion or Easy Camp Portugal, and they've got them in Italy. They've got them in a lot of countries. Actually, I've got a list of them on the Wandering Bird website, but they're definitely worth looking into for the sites, for the areas that you're going to go into, and see whether it's worth what you pay to join up with France Passion. You would save over, a week, 2 weeks, whatever like that, if you would use it enough. So what do I look for? Now, I mean, I've gone through a lot of this already when I'm sort of analysing places, analysing sites. The thing to remember is that your requirements will change based on what you need for the next day, the next night, the next whatever. If you are just going to book up one campsite for the week and have a relaxing holiday with a swimming pool and a restaurant and a kids club and a beach, you are done. Those are your requirements. You can filter down using the sites, done. Now, because I tend to tour around a lot, I tend to go off grid. Now I don't mean wild parking here, but using airs, they're off grid. You don't have electric hookup or anything like that, so you are totally reliant on what you've got inside your own motorhome. I tend to be off grid for, well, Ireland I was off grid for about 4 weeks, but that was because they had stopovers where you could empty your toilet and get fresh water and all this kind of stuff. So a lot of it will depend where I am, but for example on this trip right now in the Hebrides, I've been off grid for 5 days. And now I'm in a campsite, so tomorrow morning I'm going to use all the facilities, empty the toilet cassette, get out fresh water before I continue on with my trip. And the other thing that I'm all here as well for is I desperately needed a laundry machine, a washing machine, and they had them here. So that was one of the main reasons that I'm actually here this evening, was to get my washing done, which I have now done, so yay me. But of course that was not a requirement for the last 5 nights. I didn't need that facility, and I was quite happy to stay without any electric hookup. My top priority for the last few nights has been, is it near a beach for a certain sleeping puppy who had passed out now because we've been playing on a beach most of the day. And also another really important thing was did I have decent signal? Because obviously I've just launched the Wandering Motorhome Club. I needed signal to be able to talk to all the members and get everything set up with that. And going off grid in the middle of the Hebrides was perhaps not the best timing, but that was really important to me. And obviously I needed sites that were dog friendly. That was always there. So, you know, you will have different criteria to me. A lot of it will be based on whether you've got children, whether you've got pets, what facilities you need. Now, if you've got a camper van that doesn't have a toilet or a shower, or you don't want to use the facilities that you've got in your motorhome and you want a toilet block and a shower block and all the rest of the stuff, I tend to find if I'm traveling with anybody else, having a separate toilet block and a shower block makes life a lot more harmonious in the van. But when I'm traveling on my own, I don't mind so much. So those criteria will definitely change. Price, obviously, I mean, some places in the Hebrides are like 30 odd for a night for not a lot. And when you've seen some of the places that you can stay out for £5 for the night, you think, why am I going to pay that? So yeah, always look at price. The other thing, especially in Scotland, grass versus hard standing. Now, some places in Scotland, obviously it rains a lot in Scotland, and if you go on grass pitches, you're going to sink. Some of them, they say grass, but they're actually really, really well drained. So if you're worried, you can always phone up the site if there's somebody there and say, you know, what's it like? But I always try and go hard standing throughout the winter months. And given that winter hasn't really stopped all that much yet, you have to be careful, especially if you're a larger motorhome. If you've got a small camper van, you won't need to worry quite so much about whether it's grass or hard standing, but larger motorhomes will. And then again, you've got things like opening dates. So I was amazed that some of the sites in the Hebrides only opened 6 days ago on the 1st of May. Now, obviously, that's for their summer season, but that was so much later than I expected it to be. I thought they'd be open at like Easter or something, but I was wrong. So that's something to look into as well. Check-in and check-out time, especially if you've got teenagers and they don't want to get up early. And then, like I say, phone signal, also TV signal if you like to watch TV. Those things are important, and they will be very important based on exactly where you are and what you want to do, and also how long you're going to be there for. Because you think you can put up with anything for like one night, and then if you're going to be there for about 4 or 5 days, then it does make life a little bit more tricky. Now, I am going to be doing a huge talk next week in the Wandering Motorhome Club, all about how I plan my road trips. So if you are one of these people who is a bit overwhelmed, a bit intimidated by planning trips, where to start, don't know, come along to that. It will be inside the Wandering Motorhome Club. I'll drop the link below this actually, so you can join up with that. But it will allow you to come in and see how I plan my trip. But also I'm going to have some time under there to help you plan your trips. So if you want to come along and be like, I'm going to Germany, we've got a week, I don't know where to go, my head's battered, which are the kind of emails that I get all day long. Where do I even start? This will help you out. So let me just grab the note, because I put it in there. I've also got the link for the slides there as well. I'll grab that in there. Where am I live? Hello. Right. Actually, while I'm here, let me say hi to some people. And if you've got any questions, there's that. Can I pin that? No, I can't. Right. So let me scroll through here. So let me leave that up there. Are there any questions? If you have got any, please let me know. How do you know if there's good phone signal before you get there? A really good question, Claire. So I tend to look at, if you look at Parkfornight or search for sites, let me bring that up. They have got a little symbol that says whether or not it's got good internet. Where did I go? Oh, hang on, actually there. So this one was where I stayed. Brilliant place, the one right on the beach. I'm just going to prove me a liar now, isn't it? So it doesn't actually have it on there. So I was a bit worried about. Maybe it isn't that one. No, it is. It definitely is that one. Yeah. So I was a bit worried about that, and actually, I turned up not knowing what the signal was going to be like. The signal in the Hebrides is so much better than I expected it to be. Pretty much every campsite has had really good 4G signal, and I've got my phone is on 4G and my Wi-Fi dongle's on EE, and I haven't had a problem anywhere. Driving from the campsite today back to Stornoway, you kind of went, so I was right on the west coast last night, drove back through sort of the middle mountainous bit, had no signal for about an hour. That's the only time I haven't really had signal the whole time I've been over here. But what you can do is go onto your network provider's website. So, for example, Vodafone's website, and you can look at the network coverage map. And I did this when I was doing a live a few days ago to make sure that I had decent coverage there. But like I say, the Hebrides have been so much better, certainly in the Isle of Lewis and Harris, which really confuses me because it's basically one island. I thought they were two islands, and they're not. There's a road between them. And even when they're like the second island at the bottom, Harris seems to start halfway up. And anyway, the internet has been much better. But yeah, if you're really concerned, like today, I knew I was going to be doing a live today. I wanted the signal to be good. So I've come to the biggest town on the Isle of Lewis to make sure that I had as decent internet as I could possibly get to be able to do this for you guys. So sometimes if you know you have to be places or have decent internet, I did it when I do podcast interviews or when I've done live videos and things before, you have to make sure you have decent internet. Any other question? Speaking now on a CL site, what does the red dotted sites mean? Ooh, now you're asking me. Hang on, I'm guessing it was on one of these. Is that what you mean? What does the red dotted sites mean? Or was it on CL booking? What red dots? I don't see any red dots. Not sure I know what you mean. Sorry, Judy. Could you send me an example or explain to me where you're looking? Let me scroll through. Right, I think those are all the questions. Tony wants to do the NC 500. What's the best time to go? Now is good. Before the midges start, although they might have just started. I'm amazed the Hebrides don't really have them. Now, whether that changes in the summer or not, I don't know, but they don't really have them. There's like none. It's brilliant. But yeah, I would not do the west coast of Scotland between sort of end of May till middle of September. It's not fun. East coast much better, not so much the west coast. Oh blimey, Kim, height of the bridges in the Dolomites. I drove around the Dolomites in a motorhome, didn't go anywhere near a bridge, but that's because I've got a proper sat nav that took me away from the bridges. That's a whole other video. Right, I think I've covered all of your questions. Oh, hang on. Any advice for a couple of newbies in Devon with an old Fiat Ducato? Lots of advice. Kind of a little bit beyond the scope of this. If you're asking how you sort of start finding campsites, start somewhere nearby because you will have forgotten something, and then just slowly start expanding your reach. If you want like proper how to do motorhoming step-by-step guides, go on the Wandering Bird website and look for Motorhoming Made Simple. That is a full step-by-step tutorial on everything that you need to know about what to do with your motorhome and how to do different things and all of that kind of stuff. Right. Thank you, as always, for your time. Like I say, let me come back to where I want. If you do want to come to this talk next week, the doors for it are actually going to close in a couple of days. So the Wandering Motorhome Club isn't going to stay open all the time. So if you do want to join in next week's chat, you need to join within the next couple of days. I will come back and make sure that the link is up there for you. But until then, I hope you have a lovely rest of your evening and a lovely rest of your week. And I will keep sharing stuff on Facebook and Instagram about where I'm going. Right, I'm going to figure out how to end this. Lovely. Oh, I'll click the end stream button. Thanks.